For as long as mankind has existed, there have always been those who claim to be able to see the future. Some call them psychics, others prophets. But while many of those people's skills are unfounded, there have been those who have been able to make predictions about the future that were so eerily accurate, they'll send chills down your spine. Here are 10 strange prophecies that actually came true. Number 10 is Jeane Dixon and JFK. Jeane Dixon was an astrologer and claimed to have predicted the death of President John F. Kennedy. The assassination of Kennedy in 1963 was one of the most shocking moments in the 20th century. Dixon's prediction came 7 years earlier in 1956. In an interview with Parade magazine, the self-confessed astrologer and psychic said that a US president elected in 1960 would die in office. Skeptics have always asserted that her prediction was vague, but Dixon claimed she originally stated that the president in office would not just die, but be assassinated. The magazine allegedly refused to publish that controversial statement. While Dixon did not name John F. Kennedy directly, she did accurately describe his appearance and him being a president, making her prophecy a paranormal glimpse into the future. Number 9 is Mark Twain and Halley's Comet. Mark Twain is one of the greatest writers in American history, but he also had an eerie prophecy about his own death. Twain, whose real name was Samuel Clemens, was well known for making comical and intelligent quips about the world around him. But in 1909, one of those quips may have had chilling consequences. Twain was born in 1835. Earlier that year, Halley's Comet came into view. Now, this comet orbits the sun in such a way that it appears near the Earth every 75 years. In 1909, Twain was quoted as saying, "I came in with Halley's Comet in 1835. It's coming again next year, and I will expect to go out with it." And that is exactly what happened. In 1910, one day after the comet appeared, Mark Twain passed away. Number 8 is Nostradamus and the Great Fire of London. The Great Fire of London in 1666 consumed a huge amount of the city over 3 days. But it could have been prevented had people been aware of the prophecy made about it over 100 years earlier. That prophecy was made by a French seer named Michel de Notre Dame. More famously known as Nostradamus, he published his predictions as cryptic poems called quatrains. One of these predictions was in fact the Great Fire in London. Skeptics believe that these quatrains were the equivalent of modern-day horoscopes, which were vague enough to fit many situations. However, others suggest that Nostradamus wrote in a cryptic way so as to avoid persecution for witchcraft, and that he clearly predicted the Great Fire. No matter how this prophecy is viewed, it is not the first that Nostradamus ever made, and it was not the only one that came true. Number 7 is the Christ prophecy. One of the most debated prophecies of all time is the Messiah prophecy made in the Old Testament. There are numerous predictions in the Bible about a future Messiah. For Christians, those references came to pass through the life of Jesus Christ. Many moments of Christ's life are described within the Old Testament, perhaps as long as 1,000 years before Christ's actual birth. These include that he would be born to a virgin, that some would accept him and others reject him, and that he would be betrayed by one of his disciples. In Isaiah 53:8, it was also prophesied that the Messiah would be tried and then executed. Christians argue that this is proof that the Bible is prophetic, while skeptics argue that the details of Christ's life may have been changed over time to fit those previous prophecies. What is clear is that a prophecy was made, and it almost identically described Christ's life. Number 6 is Sharon Tate's vision. The famous actress Sharon Tate was murdered by the Manson family in 1969, and may have predicted her tragic death a year before it happened. In 1968, Tate was working on set of a film and was asked by an interviewer, "Have you ever had any psychic experiences?" And Tate's reply is nothing short of chilling. She said that one night while she was in bed alone, she began to have strange feelings. When she turned on the light, she saw a man moving around the room clumsily and was convinced that it was the apparition of a famous Hollywood agent who had previously committed suicide there. Terrified, she ran downstairs, only to be confronted by the apparition of a woman who had her throat cut. Tate wasn't sure if it was just a dream, but the description she gave of the woman is creepily close to what actually happened to Tate a year later. Number 5 is the financial psychic. One of the biggest disasters of the last 100 years was the 2008 crash, and Laura Day believes that she predicted that this would happen using her powers of intuition. Earning more than $10 million in the 15 years before the crash for her predictions, she claims that she had no knowledge of the stock market, even though she could allegedly predict fluctuations in it. During the 2008 crash, which economies are still recovering from today, Laura supposedly led a number of high-profile businesses to protect themselves before it happened, and continues to be paid millions of dollars in the financial sector. Rather than promoting her predictions as psychic, Laura refers to herself as intuitive. Whatever she brands herself, there are thousands that believe in her prophecies. Number 4 is the Titanic prediction. Sometimes people don't even realize they're making a prophecy, and that's the case with the creepily accurate Titanic prophecy. Morgan Robertson wrote a fictional story called The Wreck of the Titan. It's about a large ship which hits an iceberg, and because of a lack of lifeboats, most of the crew and passengers perish in the icy waters. You'd be forgiven for thinking that this is a story about the Titanic, but it was published in 1898, 12 years before the Titanic sank. But those were not the only similarities. Both ships were a similar size. The iceberg impacted the same area on both ships, they both carried a similar number of passengers, they both sank in April, and both ships sank bow first. Whether Robertson was unwittingly a psychic or not, the Wreck of the Titan's similarities to the actual Titanic ship are unnerving to say the least. Number 3 is the death of Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln is one of the most famous figures in US history, but it may shock you to learn that he had a bizarre vision about his death before it happened. Lincoln was assassinated on April 14, 1865 by John Wilkes Booth. But a few days earlier, he had discussed a strange dream that he had with his former law partner, Ward Hill Lamont. Lincoln said that in his dream, he entered the east room of the White House and discovered a corpse lying there guarded by soldiers. Several mourners were by the corpse's side, but Lincoln couldn't see the identity of the deceased body because it was covered. Lincoln turned to one of the guards, and when he asked who had died, the guard replied, "The president." Just 3 days later, the president was dead, murdered by an assassin's bullet. Number 2 is Nostradamus and Hitler. As mentioned previously, Nostradamus made many predictions, but his most terrifying refers to 3 antichrists. Describing them using his usual cryptic quatrains, Nostradamus supposedly predicted Napoleon, Hitler, and a 3rd antichrist who is yet to come. Nostradamus' descriptions of a tyrant coming from Germany are the most chilling. He states that a captain of Germany shall come to yield himself by false hope, and also refers to beasts wild with hunger that will cross the rivers. Many interpret this as a description of German tanks. Nostradamus even calls this tyrant Hister, which isn't too far off from Hitler. Nostradamus was known for jotting down his predictions while staring into a mirror or bowl for hours until he hallucinated. And number 1 is Baba Vanga and 9/11. Baba Vanga was a blind Bulgarian woman who made many prophecies throughout her life, and her followers believe most of them have either come true or will come true. Her most famous prediction above all involved describing the tragic events of 9/11 before they occurred. Baba Vanga allegedly made the prediction back in 1989. Like Nostradamus, Vanga's predictions were cryptic, saying the American brethren will fall after being attacked by steel birds. Many interpret American brethren to mean the Twin Towers, and steel birds, of course, meaning the planes that were flown into them. No one knows if Baba Vanga was truly able to tell the future, but she did say that humanity will become immortal in the year 4599. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it in the future, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for my new uploads. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.